A minute, please. Pardon, I didn't get your title. Pharmacist, doctor, or Mrs.
I told you the last time that you asked, I said
Sorry,
Miss
I discuss
MS.
with many people every day. Mrs.
I know.
Abi,
Miss, yeah.
Miss.
Because my full name is actually my real name, you understand? So you can't say
Uh-huh.
Mrs. Yep. So it's actually Miss.
Okay. Okay.
Or better still, you just use my name. Not that maybe I'm just telling you this on an
I
informal
understand. I understand.
level.
Don't worry.
If you want to write my name, just Morufat Olaitan, like that's all.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, special.
Good day, global citizens. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Fajembola'S Opinion. This is a platform where research meets understanding and legacy. You can see I'm smiling because today we are discussing something entirely different. And when I came across this publication, I had to discuss with the researcher and be like, please, you need to come on Dr. Fajembola'S Opinion and discuss this. Like, it's eye-opening. It's actually something outside the box. And when I was reading the publication, what came to my mind is, how did she think of this? Because this is entirely, like, as I said, out of the box, thinking outside the box. So please join me to welcome Miss Morufat Olaitan. Miss Morufat, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. I'm
Thank you
really
so
glad to be
much
here.
for being a guest on our platform. And thank you for choosing to share your knowledge with us today. So, global citizens, let's quickly go through Miss Olaitan's profile. She is a Nigerian microbiologist and academic researcher currently serving as a member of Department of Biology, Microbiology and Science, Laboratory Technology at Nile University in Nigeria. And she has a background in antimicrobial resistance and One Health. And that's one of the things we're going to be looking at today, a contribution to One Health. So basically, the publication we're going to look at today is INA. How INA, I know some people don't know what INA is. INA is a natural plant used to as cosmetic in almost around the world, in fact. But it's one of the things used especially by a specific religious group, Muslims, known attached, even though it's not only used by Muslims, but it's well known among the Muslim populace. So before we dive into the discussion, we're going to look at basically our publication was using INA, the antimicrobial effect of INA extract. I know many people just use inner. In fact, some people are using fake inner. Some people are using chemicals, so they're calling it inner. So today we are going to learn more on that. So before we dive into um, the publication for today, let's look at what global citizens are saying about inner. The first I got was from Idris, where he said, it is true that the Prophet ﷺ used to dye his gray hairs with inner, which gave a yellowish, reddish, or brownish hue. So some people use inner to dye their hair. I'm not sure if I've ever done it because I don't even have time for that. But I've seen people use inner to dye their hair, to dye their beard. And it's believed that it's part of Sunnah. So the second tweet is from Joyce Musia. If you have been following me on Twitter, you know one of the people I'm a fan of. I have a professional crush on is Miss Joyce Musia, and I'm seeing a tweet on Ina. I was surprised she has a tweet on Ina. She's saying years ago, displaced by conflict, today has learned Ina to provide for our family. She's talking about how someone has learned Ina to draw Ina to provide for our family. This is Fadumo's story, who I met in Dolo. I told it on a global stage today. My message to the room was clear. Empowerment is key, so women and girls in conflict can define their own future. So the last is from Islamic spaces, where they are saying a new type of inner that prevents water from reaching the skin. Do you think that's inner? Before we even dive into the discussion, that's the last tweet. Any type of, I believe any inner that cannot absorb water is not inner. I believe that's chemical. What do you think,
Yeah,
Miss Morufat?
na- yeah, that is very likely not to be the natural one actually, because the natural inner must absorb water. In fact, I think that is one of the major characteristics, such that they were able to take in water, and by that they were able to release the active components. So maybe that other inner that is not able to absorb water, perhaps is actually the synthetic one, or those adulterated formats. Thank you.
Okay, let's dive into the publication. Now, in the publication, a lot of antimicrobial bacteria, antimicrobial was mentioned.
Sure.
So now, what is gram-negative bacteria? Because that's what I feel, that's what your work was about. So what is gram? Because if we encourage global citizens to read the paper. Now they see gram-negative, positive. The only thing people know positive and negative is HIV positive and negative. So now we are saying gram-negative, positive. So what is a gram-negative bacteria?
All right, thank you so much for the first very question. Gram-negative bacteria are actually those bacteria. Generally we have bacteria, and we say we have many bacteria, not all, because due to the nature of the cell wall, we are able to have either positive or negative after running the gram reaction, or we rather call it gram staining. You understand? So in the gram staining, we have the primary stain, we have mordants, we have alcohol, we have secondary stain. So the two stuff that actually determine be it will end up being gram positive or gram negative is actually the primary and the secondary stain. So gram positive usually take up the primary stain, and the primary stain is actually crystal violet, and the crystal violet stain purple. So because of the tiny layer of the peptidoglycan, you understand, in the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria, and they have other outer layer that is lacking in the gram-positive. So because of that tiny peptidoglycan, you understand. So peptidoglycan is just like, imagine we have aggregate bread. Let's say we have big loaf of bread. For people that don't know aggregate bread, and we have a slice of bread. So now imagine you now pass them through a die. So you realize that the loaf of bread will retain more dye, right? More stain than the slice of bread. So gram-negative is like a slice of bread. It's not able to retain that initial staining, hence retaining the secondary stain. So the secondary stain is now the safranin. So the safranin stain red or pink, and it retain that. Now, this extra advantage for the fact that the gram-negative bacteria has the outer layer, and the outer layer is lipopolysaccharide. So it now makes them to resist antibiotic resistance. And that is actually where the AMR now try to champion them precisely, majorly, because gram-negative bacteria are actually, public health concern than the gram-positive. Though gram-positive also have the stubborn guys among them, like the methicillin resistant. But we have lot of this resistance strain in gram-negative. And that is why you see that many researchers are trying to concentrate more, well, better with the gram-negative bacteria. So it's actually coming from the gram reaction. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Ms. Marufat, for that beautiful introduction. I believe you've given us a smooth beginning for our next discussion, for the next question, I mean. Now, when we're reading the tweets, we're seeing different reactions from inner, and like I said, natural inner, I believe, absorb water. If I'm wrong, let me know. And a lot of inner being paraded globally as inner are chemicals. They're not really the inner from the plant. So what are 3 facts about inner extract we should know, Miss Morufat?
All right, thank you so much. So, the first fact I would like to say about the real natural inner is that, unlike many other plants, at least you see this so-called, the plant-based antimicrobial, my own interest just came because of, during the COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. It's not like maybe I'm actually like, a chemist, how do they call them? Those chemistry people, the medicinal plant, organic chemistry and stuff. So I just try to, mingle with some of them, ask them some questions before I even embark on my own journey. And what they usually tell me is that, look, by the time you have many bags of the plant that you need, you will get very minute quantity. But I was so surprised by the time I did the extraction for henna. I was able to have, large quantity, because I was told initially that hardly will I be able to get up to 1% of the yield. And I was so scared how many bags I have to gather to actually achieve my aim. But by the time I look at henna, I was able to have even some extra having more than 25%. Imagine compared to every other plant having just one. So henna usually absorb, taking water, and in that course, they will release the active extract or active principle. So another thing is that the leaf extract, I don't know if I will say maybe that is why they use it in cosmetic, right? But no, the cosmetic actually come in before the, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I will just say maybe like that, because maybe perhaps because I know about the design before I even know anything about the antimicrobial and any other health benefit it has. So the leaf extract yielded the most, and it has more than 25%. Now, aside the leaf extract, what many people did not know about henna is actually the seed. And I know nothing about the seed, sincerely. I just play around it so that it will not just be leaf. I wasn't even having any special regard for the seed. But surprisingly, the seed also have so many wonders, they possess so many wonders. So after the leaf aqueous, then the leaf methanol has the other one, you understand? And among all these extracts, only the seed methanol did not, produce some jelly-like, in terms of like appearance, the visibility, and the viscosity. So the seed methanol wasn't really jelly. So it was just like, like eba, if I would say, something that is just not really slimy or so. So those are just some stuff that I can just talk about or say about the air.
Okay, thank you for that. I know we've discussed antimicrobial resistance on this platform severally, and I love us to keep reminding our guests, although each researcher brings their own like expertise. So what are three myths on antimicrobial resistance you feel we should know about?
For the AMR, that's the short form of the antimicrobial resistance. I usually think or believe that many individuals always think whenever we talk about AMR, antimicrobial resistance, we are just restricting to antibacterial resistance. In fact, I think it's only people that have tried to look into this, and some that even look into this, they might still be thinking that maybe AMR is just antibacterial. Whereas we have antifungal resistance. In fact, the WHO is still also trying to champion that perspective. People always just think that it's antimicrobial resistance, it's just antibacterial. We also have antifungal resistance. For example, there are some HIV drugs that are actually resistant. We also have antiparasitic resistance. By the time we are talking about antiparasitic resistance, try to go to anti-malaria resistance. People still don't know that it's still part of AMR. And we have now, especially in malaria endemic region, we have anti-malaria resistance. So that is the first thing that I would like to, okay, whenever we say antimicrobial resistance, it's not just talking about bacteria. In fact, many people, especially the lay people, whenever you say bacteria, microorganism, they will just, okay, bacteria. So that is the first thing. Then the second thing I would like to say is, generally commonly, I know this notion is now trying to go wide, whereby whenever people have like cold, they will instantly go for antibiotic. They feel maybe it's actually from what? From bacteria. But many of these cold, flu, many of them are actually from are from virus. And by the time you take antibiotic in place of the viral drug that you ought to have taken, and many of these cold and flu, they're actually self-limiting, such that when you leave them, even so to say, untreated, they will just, you get relief, they will go on their own. So, and another thing is the way people always take antibiotic, just like preventive medicine, they will say just take antibiotics so that you're not fall sick. There shouldn't be anything like that. The same mindset is now being used on the farm, whereby people will be giving their animal antibiotics. That will say, okay, maybe they will fatten up or to prevent any diseases like the prophylaxis or even the metaprophylaxis, whereby they will be thinking, okay, there might be an outbreak of this particular disease and they will give antibiotics. And all these things summing up together yield the so-called AMR. So we have to know that AMR is not just, a standing phenomenon. You understand? So many things actually contribute to it, and we have to demystify all these contributions so people will know where they're actually coming from. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Marufa. Our discussion is on INA, and as I say, this is a learning media for me as much as it's for our audience. We know INA comes in from, when I read the paper, I understood that there are different extracts from INA. So, what forms of INA has antimicrobial properties? Is it that all forms of INA you can derive antimicrobial properties from all forms, or there are specific forms of INA that has antimicrobial properties?
Okay, thank you so much for that question again. You see, generally I do tell people, or maybe my student, besides whenever I'm in class, I said, it's always hard to generalize. You understand? Like maybe you're saying all or none. Of course, if I want to talk and maybe, is either you are biased or you're not biased. So I don't even know the right word to use in this case. So far, so good. Many of the extracts that have come up across, be it in my work or even in literature, actually have or possess antimicrobial, you understand, antimicrobial activity. But then I've also come across some literatures whereby by the time they, evaluate, assess the Henna extract, they will say maybe it doesn't yield. And you see, another thing that matters with all these plants, plant-based antimicrobial generally is it depends on the region, how it's being planted, the soil, even the agricultural, landform. And aside from all these things, also how was it extracted? Many people even kill all these active products, you understand, in the course of the extraction. And is it even extracted naturally or maybe by all these sourceless extraction, which is still allowed? But you see, we have to still take note of the heat that is being used. And whenever we are talking about the ethnobotanical, survey or how people have been using it, people hardly go through all those stress of the extraction process people use in the lab. So now imagine, and we have this issue whereby, the folk people will say, okay, this doesn't have activity. Scientists say it doesn't have activity. So we have to actually follow how they are being extracted in their own way to see if it doesn't have, if it has activity truly, if we don't want to be biased. But for all the extract I work with, all has activity. Maybe the question would now be which one possess more activity or better activity, right? And in my own work, the seed methanol has better activity. You understand? The seed, of course, people use the leaf very well. Just like I said, even for the seed I work with, I only work with it. Ordinarily, I would have worked with the leaf. In fact, the reason why I work with the seed was because I had all the, I have the plant. And in the plant, I have the seed, I have the leaf. So I was now, imagine the space I passed before I got this thing. But I just plump the leaf and throw away the seed. No, now. You understand? And that is why I said, I will work with this seed also. Not that I don't actually plant. And now imagine, in that post, I realized that even the seed has better activity. Not so good, I didn't even just limit myself to the leaf. Because, for example, the leaf achios have the least activity. But you see, having least activity doesn't mean it doesn't have its own merits. You understand? And many of the thing with all these leaves is it's not just, in all these medicinal stuff, unlike the silver bullets, many of these plants are just used as like shotgun, whereby you just keep using it. It's not until that infection actually show face, you just by using it, like the way they use it on their own. Not that maybe now you're having serious headache, you have this infection, you run test, and the next thing you think that you should go and use plants. Hardly, I don't know anyway, so that no blame, but yeah, hardly will I say maybe to work in that sense, because plant work very slowly, unlike the way drug work. You understand? So we have to just be, we should try to be balanced in the two aspects. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, you are making sense. By the way, our next question, in the paper you talked about different, you and the other author, which you say is your supervisor, you talked
Yeah, sure,
about
sure.
different parts of
You talk about what?
you talked about different parts of inner, and the how its interaction with bacteria, how they are resistant to it. So when can we say an individual has multi-drug resistance?
All right. Thank you so much for that question again. Multiple drug resistant, it's just like AMR. AMR is the mother field, is the general field, is the father, is the mother, is the parents. So we can have the MDR, we can have the SDR, we can have the PDR. So for the MDR, that is the force of the Pekin, the son or the grandchild of the AMR. So it is actually when an individual actually resists at least a member in 3 classes or more of antibiotics. For example, we can have a class like carbapenem, we can have like cephalosporin, we can have like the polymyxin. You understand? We can have different classes. So in as well as an individual resists at least one antibiotic in that class, so 1, 2, 3, then that means that person is actually experiencing or suffering from MDR, bacteria or infection. So it's actually 3 or more classes. You understand? Or you rather say 2 or more classes of antibiotics.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks so much. I believe our audience now understand because what is common is antimicrobial resistance. That's what they are used to hearing. I'm sure a very large percentage of our audience now understand what multi-drug resistance is. So how safe is plant-based antimicrobials like Henna?
So
Because
another
what
question.
associated complications are expected? Because I'm reading the paper, you and your supervisor, you praised Ina so much, and I praise in quotes. The way you talked about Ina is like the holiest of all, like
Oh, yes, indeed.
um plant antimicrobial. So, what complications are there? Is how safe it is, and what complications can one get from using plant-based Ina?
Mm. Well, thank you so much. You see, I was laughing heavily when you are
I saw
saying
you
the
laugh because I
only.
was, I'm like, okay. and
Well,
and this is an opportunity to tell global citizens, please read the paper so people understand what I'm saying.
yeah, thank you so much. You see, we have to be very careful. Personally, despite the fact that the paper is there, and just like you said in quotes, the paper is look like the holiness, we praise the paper. If you even read my MSc dissertation, in fact, probably you not even read anything, as you not even use anything again. I'm telling you, if you even read, I have more than 100 pages for my MSc, just MSc, because I
Wow.
read a lot of literature. It's not that this is my field. So, in fact, I have to learn in the process. And I put up for everything, even try to bring up the debate, the positive, the negative. But then, to be sincere with you, I'm not even a fan of ab. I don't take agbo. I don't take it. You understand? But you see, what we actually, or personally, because I conceptualize the study, what I'm just trying to bring is that, okay, now we have rise of AMR. The concept here is not people should just go and be using it, except when it is well established, just like even the WHO last report, 2024, also tried to bring up, okay, how can we integrate herb into normal orthodox medicine? They are even bringing WHO. And that is to tell us that too. Because now we are actually going to post-biotic era, whereby, God forbid, whereby antibiotics will not even work again. And we now start from where we stopped. So the concept is that, okay, people that are actually suffering from this thing, and maybe, for example, there are some people who see the result. None of the tested antibiotics actually work. You will see the lab result. This one is not maybe, Sakama and J, if you understand Sakama and J. You will see the lab, and that person is actually suffering from pan drug resistance. So meaning none of the available antibiotics is actually working for that person. Then should the doctor leave the person to that? Say, okay, nothing work for you. So in that case, they should test other, natural products. You understand what I'm saying? So that is just where the concept is actually coming from AMR, MDR, not just all this research have been there for many centuries, whereby people just be testing plant and normal susceptible, bacteria or microorganism. You understand what I'm saying? But this one is just like those ones that have resisted. Then what is the solution? Then let's give some other stuff, other trial. But even then, those people that are using it, personally, I even went into their own hub and tried to make my own investigation. They will tell you, yeah, it has this, same as that. And that's where the scientists actually have to come in, whereby you test, you do this, you do that. And mind you, unlike all these normal orthodox drugs, whereby people have been doing clinical trial, how many clinical trials do we have for medicinal plants? And the report again from WHO, global TCI, that is traditional, complementary, and integrative medicine. What they're also trying to say is, okay, they are trying to establish how clinical trial could be done for what? For all these plants, so that we'll be able to test the efficacy, the safety, and the effectiveness. What many researchers are actually doing is the animal model. And the animal activists, which I don't know if I should also add myself to join the class, they are saying that truly people are just sacrificing these animals. You are a medical doctor. I know you might not actually go, but that we have animal activists, whereby they are now ruling out all these using animal unnecessarily, because you just kill the animal.
Yes, for research.
Yeah,
Ethics.
at the end of the day, the result will not translate to what is happening with human. Do you know that it happened? So then why are we doing it? But people just think that is the easiest route instead of using human as guinea pigs, right? But I still try to find, like volunteers. I might turn to another thing with all this stuff, whereby, but the truth is just that, it depends on concentration, the dosage, right? So let me calm down again. So it depends on all that, but we can't say precisely. Personally, in the work, we carry out the toxicity test. But what do we use?
Yes.
We use the branching lethality assay, and it's like fish. You understand? Because people have said, okay, this thing also work. But we can't be able to say this for that precisely without actually looking at how it's, affect human, because it's human that want to use this thing. It's not the animal, it's not the oyster rat, it's not the guinea pigs, it's not the, you understand? So there's actually a problem, that's what I would say. Because one have to be careful so that I will not say it's safe. The live acres is safe, and people they will now be looking for who is Morufat Olaitan. You understand what I'm saying? But
Yes.
people have been using it, and that they'll be saying it's good, it's that. So, but our concept is just from the AMR. When nothing is working for a particular person, then we should give it a trial. Even if we say that person will die, one have to be careful. I don't want to finish my statement. You understand?
Of
But
course,
instead
of
of giving
course.
that person, then give another thing. Thank you
You've
so much.
given us that info. What are other health benefits of inner? Because you are the inner consultant here. I'm not the inner
Indeed.
consultant.
Indeed.
She has another publication, by the way, on inner. Probably very soon we'll also discuss that. But you are the inner consultant here. What are other health
Indeed.
benefits of inner? Can we drink inner? Can we make inner tea? Can we make inner salad? Can we make inner juice? Tell us.
Yeah, people have actually been using Henna for all this kind of stuff they are saying. Personally, before I even carry out the research, I realized that Henna are being, people take Henna just like the normal, decoction, in all these part of the world, like agbo, but I know that not everybody will understand you, but just like, having to
Interesting.
sip it. And people can use it like tea and all that. And personally, they said, not personally, generally they said, people have been using it with water and alcohol. You see, this work, I did a lot of, literature said before I even embarked on it. And that was actually the reason why I picked the two. I realized many research have been done with the ethanol, and I don't like what people have been doing. I don't like it. You understand what I'm saying? I don't like just general stuff. So, and that is why I actually go for the methanol. You understand? Just like alcohol stuff. And the AQ. So people have been taking it with water. So people have been using it in different ways. And the funny thing is that, and I just want to have to be careful with all these plant stuff. Henna have been used for many unrelated health issues, you understand, or health benefits, plus or minus. Either you are thinking of antimicrobial, the way we are talking, then we'll be talking about the, in between antiviral, antibacterial, anti-cancer, they've used it for it. Anti-inflammatory, they've used it. Hepatoprotective activity, they've used it for it. And I'm not telling you this with speaking with people. There are literature documented. And that is why if you take a look in my own thesis, you understand, I have all these things. I cite who carry out the study and all those things. So they've used for it. For abortifacients, you understand, that is abortion. They don't use that for it. You see another wala. You understand what I'm saying? So, and from that also, please hope my network is okay, so that it's not
Yeah,
like I'm
perfect. Perfect.
okay, good. So, and that is why some people also use it for contraceptive. You understand? So some people whereby blah 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 blah. You understand? Just like the way we have the medical contraceptive stuff.
Interesting.
So they've used it for it. So imagine how we know, and you see, to be fair with them, I would say maybe just dosage, right? Because imagine something that can cause abortion and also contrast. Anyway, maybe I will say the same class. Also for vaginal discharge, they've used it for it. For excessive menstrual bleeding, they've used it for it. You want me to continue? They've used for so many things. Is it for headache? Is it for analgesic? Is it for arthritis? I'm not just saying all this. They've used for, I have documentation for all of them. So which one do you want to use it for?
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. With this, I hope more and more research will be done on inner extract.
Exactly.
I believe the
That is
world
what
needs to
we
know
need.
the benefits
Exactly.
of inner. What inner is rated as globally is a cosmetic, and I believe a cosmetic is just it being a byproduct of inner. Like a whole lot of us can current and future global citizens can benefit from inner more investment into go to inner
Okay.
cultivation of
Now you
inner
are talking.
plants, and
Yeah.
we should and in as much as we are boosting research on inner, we need more advocacy on inner that the chemicals being sold around is not inner, which is used by majority of people, which is known as inner by majority of people. We need to know that the plant extract is inner, and that's what should be used. So thank you so much for that, Miss Marufa.
Before you move to the next question, please, before you know, and you see, just to buttress on what you said about this chemical that have been, you said many people know them for cosmetic stuff.
Yes.
What many even know for the cosmetic stuff, I know even the real Henna. You understand? I know even the real one. And that is because surprisingly, the real Henna doesn't even die. I mean, how should I put it? The stain doesn't even, it's not that obvious, like the way the normal, all those synthetic, adulterated, portray as Henna look like. Because personally, when I was doing the work, sometimes I always try to apply it on my skin. In fact, hardly will you even be able to see it. And that is a natural inner. So many of what is Anna being, sold out, they have actually integrated many of those chemicals into it. And we have
With
to just come
chemicals.
up, yes, with chemicals.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And that I feel that's why a lot of people actually when I was trying to get tweets for this discussion, I saw that I saw tweets on allergic reaction to inner, where people use inner and they develop swollen parts of their body, skin reactions. So I
Yes.
believe it's the chemicals causing that, not inner itself. So what challenges did you face during this research? First
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, first, and thank you. Another one, like I said in my introductory part, that it's not really that maybe I'm a medicinal chemistry person or so. So it's about, it's trying something for the first time and seeing how it goes. And it was so, let me start from the beginning. After getting the plant, I realized that I had to just try to mimic exactly what those folkloric, people actually experience. So from what I read, if you want to have the better, active principle, you need to air dry this plant away from sunlight and fluorescence. So how will I do it? If I take it to the lab, will I say they should not on the light in the lab? So do you know what I did? I have to take this thing to my house. And under, I have, just like the way I have my office table here, I also have my reading table in my house. So after I plug everything I need, the leaf and the seed, I have to now put it beneath my table. And to fully air dry this, because just like what we've said earlier on, henna actually absorb a lot of water. So if you actually want to dry it, it takes time, right? So as its advantage in one say, if you also want to dry it before the water will get, get out, it also take a long time. So it took like roughly a month. And all through that month, I couldn't on the light in my house. If I need any special thing, maybe during the midnight, I would just maybe on the touch of my phone just to look at it, because I just want to have everything in that plant so that it's not like by the time I sun dry it, the sun will actually, kill some active stuff. Now, after passing through all those issues in the extraction process also, ordinarily I have to use 4 layers of muslin cloths. After that, I use Wortman filter paper. That is number one. Then that is where ordinarily I should stop. But I realized there are some of those, the extract that wasn't actually coming. I was there. I spent many nights. I was there. I don't know what happened. So with all those time, I have to be Googling. Maybe if ChatGPT has been on, then maybe it will have make life easier for me. I don't know. Maybe I will just ask and maybe provide me possible, sensible answer. I was just Googling, try to look at YouTube, try to read more literature until I stumbled on the fact that someone can use cotton wool. And instantly, as I used the cotton wool, I was able to get those ones that were not coming in. So that was another challenge. You understand that actually, and during my MIC also, because aside looking at the antimicrobial activity, I also tried to see, okay, what is the least concentration needed to actually inhibit these microorganisms or bacteria precisely, and that is the MIC, minimum inhibiting concentration. So, see, from what you know, Henna have pigmentation, it has coloration, right? And if you
Yes.
are looking at MIC, you need turbidity. And imagine you have this water, you realize that this water is actually clear. So once it's turbid, you realize that there's microbial growth. That is how we know. Aside you try to pass it through the spectrophotometer, you understand? But because of the coloration, it was actually hard. But God so good that I was able to do different series of control. I have just the control of the Henna, I have just the control of the antibiotic, I have just the control of even the organism itself. And I was able to compare and contrast for me to actually, overcome this. So it wasn't actually easy, especially with Henna. I don't know for any other plant because every other plant might not be showing the coloration like, Henna has color, right? Might not actually be processing those colors. But at least with enough literature, questioning, and also try to watch different things I can stumble about, I was able to get rid of all those challenges.
Thank you so much for that. Now, I want you to tell us your perspective on this. When I was reading the paper, in relation to some microorganisms, you were like Klebsiella pneumoniae and Pseudomonas aeruginosa did not have ciprofloxacin as a resistance phenotype. You and the other author mentioned some microorganisms, then some were resistant, some were not resistant in relation to INA. What's your perspective on this? I didn't understand the picture. What was really happening?
Well, just like you don't understand, I'm not also sure I understand the question, but let me say what I understand from this. Yeah, sincerely. Because I try to look with the paper, just like what you said, I think I get your point very well. Looking at the paper, because you realize that we have different strain of the Klebsiella pneumoniae and the Pseudomonas aeruginosa, right? So I
Yes.
realize, I think I even get you very well. So generally in the paper, you realize that some of the strain of the Kleb and the Pseudo, actually some are resistant and some are not resistant. And since they are not resistant, meaning the ciprofloxacin will work, against the antibiotic. And maybe where you are coming from was like, then why did we use cipro as control? So the cipro is just to put it as control because some resisted, some did not. And I remember that I look at many literature also to back up using the cipro. So in this case, since cipro is not, how should I put it? Since those antibiotics are not resisting the ciprofloxacin, so meaning the ciprofloxacin will work, right? And if it's working, then no need of using henna. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Except people that actually love herb precisely, or maybe by the time more research are actually being done, especially with the safety, the toxicity on them. You understand? Because someone have to be careful, just like I said. But if it's working, good and fine. Personally, I take though if I'm healed. Though I'm not even a fan of either drug or herb. I don't take drug until I see that, maybe you understand what I'm saying. So because I'm antimicrobial resistant, I mean antimicrobial resistant enthusiast. So I'm not someone about anything small thing, you just take drug as if you are taking sweet. And you see, that is actually how people take drugs now. Any small thing, they go to the hospital, even what. And you see, you medical doctors also, you should not go there. You should not go there, right? So they are just, so it's just individual that can just save themselves somehow with all these enlightenment, education, awareness. That's just the way to go. Otherwise, once you keep munching about this drug, you realize that it gets to a point they won't be working again. And by the time they stop working, what is the way out? So it's actually problematic, and it's somehow as well.
Okay, thanks so much. Our last question for this discussion. Where do you see the visibility of INA in national water treatment in the next decade? Because now you've discussed INA and we've seen that it has antimicrobial properties, and you talked about it also in the paper being used for water treatment. So let's say Nigerian government, now the Minister for Health, want to invest money on INA research
That money
for
we need.
water treatment, or is it Minister for Water Resources in Nigeria, something like that, a collaboration between Ministry for Health and Ministry of Water Resources? Um, for Nigerians, where do you see the visibility of Henna in water treatment plan in the next decade in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much. I love one of the points that you said is the money we need, actually, if you are saying the investments. And it's not even just what you said. I will still go back to that WHO report for 2024 that I cited earlier on. They also, established the fact that less than 1% of global fund is actually going to medicinal plants. I mean, medicinal, all these plant-based stuff. And we need more. Even WHO knows that because they realize that more than, from that 2024 report also, they realized that almost 90%, more than billions of global population actually use plants. So it even go beyond Africa, Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? It go beyond. Many are now even trying to, like, all these normal antibiotic, it does somehow, and they are now going to the plant. Many are now, is now evolving. That's why the fact that they've been there for many years, but all the concept is now growing, at a very faster distance. Now, for the plants, for the water treatment, well, it will depend on which kind of water. You understand? Because there are some things that are actually not spelled out. So if it's, and you said plants, I know we can have the normal, portable water treatment plant, and we can have the wastewater treatment plant. So there are two different stuff. But of course, I would like to just talk about the two. If it is the drinking, the potable water, because to be sincere with you, there is still a research that we did that is yet to be published. And we try to look at this so-called Henna. Henna, just like you said that we are praising Henna, we are not praising Henna. So we are also trying to look at, okay, how is it even inhibiting the microbes in the drinking water that people drink? If you go back to all those Ibadans and the rest, you realize that people take well water, they drink, right? That's even their own source of drinking water. So we try to collect some well water from different housing, and we still look at it. And we also got very interesting results, though it's yet to be published. So if they are now trying to look at that aspect, more research, because if you are thinking of drinking water, then we should be talking about the safety, right? And the reaction and the toxicity. Aha.
Yes.
So, and that's why more research is there. And by the time we have all this, we have like evidence-based, maybe policy making and all that. And we can be able to present it to the national, whatever, right?
Water supply agency.
Yes, because once you're able to get rid of all those, okay, this thing is very okay, or maybe at some concentration, it's just like the normal chlorine that they use in drinking water. It doesn't mean that chlorine doesn't have its own side effects. But the side effect is cumulative. You understand? There are actually some things that we take and they are being certified. But that maybe before the thing we actually show face, I mean, we actually, you will see the negative aspect, the detrimental effect, maybe after like 90 years. And so to say, the fee maybe, how many people even stay up to 90 years? You understand what I'm saying? And those things are actually the truth. So by the time they look at all these plants also, maybe, okay, this thing is just at a very minute. Just like the normal antibiotics also, it doesn't mean that they don't have their own side effects, right? But at least we keep using it. And that's why if there's no need to use it, please don't use it. So even virtually many drugs, doctor, say the truth, they have side effects. But the problem or the good thing is that, you say side effect, but the good thing is that they feel the merit outweigh the demerit.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
It's just like pregnant women. Sometimes they will say it's because people don't read. When a doctor prescribes something for you, you have the leaflet. You don't even read it, and that's why many are actually ignorant of all this fact. By the time you read it, in fact, you might even be scared to even use the drug. There are some drugs that are so even sometimes they will say they will put in the leaflet, pregnant woman should not take this. But you realize that the doctor actually prescribed it. But what happened? Instead of leaving the pregnant woman so that the pregnant woman and the child will die, it's better they, right? So not that maybe when something is safe, it means it has to be entirely safe in quotes, right? So they have to test. I know it has to be in that regard also with regard to the plant, not being biased, just like the way it's been subjected to with the normal antibiotics and the orthodox medicine. Then if it is the wastewater treatment plant, then I think that one might be a bit less relief compared to human. Though everything will still come back to the environment, even if we try to pay less attention. So it's not like, okay, we're just using it blindly. But of course, you see, one thing they can actually do is that maybe in the course of the treatment process. They can just put it like a filter. You understand? Sorry, the
Yes.
line will come again. They can just put it like a filter and it will work, along, just like the way the water is always being channeled from one stage to another. You understand? And another sense that maybe in like phytoremediation stuff, whereby in the course of planting the tree itself, and it can also take up, and I know there's some literature that also back that up, that sometimes it will just maybe metal extraction, to take up metal, you understand? And it will just be used in all those sense. But at least someone can test it like wastewater treatment plant, if it's the if it is the microorganism like the muddy drug or some other stuff. Because we have some other biocide also, even in the wastewater. But as a microbiologist, sometimes we just look at only the microorganism. So it
Thank you
depends
so
on
much.
more research, more money, more manpower, and of course, all this should lead to, good policy that will help every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Marufa. You gave us a thorough discussion of INA. And we've not finished discussing INA. I told them earlier that you have another discussion on INA, another publication, on INA. We're going to dive into that another day. We're taking it one step at a time to enlighten global citizens on new research on INA and the possibilities of INA in the possibilities of the impact of INA extract on the health sector. Etc. So thank you so much once again, Ms. Morufat Olaitan, for sharing your expertise with us. Beautiful, beautiful research, I must commend. Global Citizens, we looked at the publication of Ms. Olaitan Morufat during the week. She made a publication on INA and its effect on antimicrobial organisms, and also at the discussion on the paper, it's also on water treatment. I encourage you, it's an interesting paper. It's an interesting paper because it's also eye-opening. I've never seen it, I've never read it. You've seen it, if you've read it, maybe it won't be eye-opening for you, but for me, it was eye-opening. So I encourage you to read it to have more understanding of this discussion. So have a blessed week, everyone. Don't forget, this is a platform where research meets understanding, and keep sharing the information. We don't get keep on this platform. We don't get keep on the first. So share this information with your family, friends, people you care about, so that will improve the well-being of current and future global citizens. Have a blessed week, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.